I haven't done a video for a while because I haven't actually been running. I had a bad cough and bronchitis earlier in the year, so I haven't been doing much exercise at all. So anyway, today it was a good day, sort of 22 degrees out, so I thought I need to get into the sunshine and do a run. I ran 3Ks in 17 minutes, which is pretty much the pace I seem to go now. I seem to do just under 6-minute Ks, sort of like between 5:45, 5:55 is pretty average. So the route I took has sort of got a slight downhill on the way, and it's a loop back to my house, so got to sort of run a little, well, it's not really a hill really, but there is a slight elevation. So all in all, pretty pleased. Hips good, knees fine, feet good. The lungs were a little bit of an effort, but the sweat, that's real, that was happening. So a question that I see get asked a lot in with Facebook groups or hip replacement groups, whatever, is, you know, can you run after a hip replacement? And there's always a lot of, you know, varying replies. You know, my surgeon said never to run, my surgeon says it's fine. People giving their views on whether you can or can't. So I mean, first and foremost, I guess you would listen to your surgeon, but do also take into account that people are different, and we've had a different journey to get to where we are having our hip replacement. So the thing that really annoys me is when somebody in these forums replies, oh no, that's going to wear out your hip, or there's no evidence that the hip is going to wear out. In fact, even my own surgeon said there was no research or long-term studies on whether running will reduce the life of your hip replacement. And the other thing that really annoys me is when people in these forums were never runners in the first place. They weren't runners before their hip replacement. They've never run, and their responses are things like, oh, the only running I'd be doing is, you know, to catch the bus, or, you know, from a burning building, or silly remarks like that. So if you weren't a runner, if you've never run, I don't think your opinion on whether you can run after a hip replacement is beneficial to anybody, so you should just, you know, keep out of the conversation. But that's just my opinion. So there are people, there are groups that do support running. There are people who have run marathons and longer since having hip replacements. So if you are considering whether running is an option for you, perhaps look at their journeys, or look at journeys like my own, where I was a runner beforehand, and my goal was to run again after my hip replacement. So yeah, I guess that's just something that does annoy me when I see it in discussions. Can you run after a hip replacement? Yeah, it's going to be up to you how you heal, how you prepare your body, the work you're going to do to get to where you want to be, how much running matters to you. Of course, there's other options after running if you are unable to get back to running, but a lot of people see their identity as a runner, and if you suddenly are injured and you need to have a hip replacement, you kind of go through this grieving process where it's like, oh my God, if I can't run every day or every other day, you know, go for those hour runs, those 2 hour runs, you know, who am I? What am I? What's my purpose in life? Because when you're in that whole training mode, you know, you constantly think about the next run, the next route, the next race, you know, all these things, that's who you are and how you identify. So it's taken away from you when running is no longer an option. And I guess when I did get back into running after my hip replacement, I did the walking, you know, route first. I walked a half marathon before, you know, even attempting to run. So you do have to adapt and adjust. But I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, I enjoyed walking my half marathon. It was probably just as painful as running a half marathon. So yeah, the hip replacement journey doesn't just stop when you get the surgery. It continues, and I guess in a way we're all going into the unknown about how long our hips will last, how much it will take, and you know, will your other hip need replacing, all these things. Actually, that's another thing I kind of get annoyed with, when people say, oh, after a hip replacement you can't do high impact work, like, you know, my surgeon said, oh, you can't do, you know, pounding, high impact. Really, most of us, when we're running 5-6 k pace, 5 or 6 minute k pace, we're not sprinting like those world-class marathoners. We're sort of plodding. Well, you know, my family's always laughed at me and sort of said, oh Mum, your feet barely lift off the ground. I mean, it's not hard high impact work. And one thing my surgeon actually did say to me was, well, consider this: if you ran a half marathon, are you putting as much strain on your hip as if you walked a full marathon? You know, like, that was the concept he asked, like, because he didn't know either, because there is no research, but that was a good question. If I walked way more than I ran, am I still wearing out my hip by doing the kilometres, the quantity? So, I mean, that's an issue, you know, that is also an unknown. So there's lots of things to consider when you do start your running journey, if that's what you're going to do, and maybe don't sort of set limits on it and just see where it takes you. If it's not for you, maybe you can walk, maybe you'll bike, maybe you'll hike, maybe you'll do something else. But a hip replacement sort of is an opportunity to get your quality of life back. So you know, take it and see where your journey takes you.